Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naran Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jaya Mudhiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 19. Tiriyak Manushya Vibudha Adhishu Jivayonishu Atma Ichchaya Atmakruta Setu Paripsaya Yaha Reme Nirasta Vishayaha Api Avaruddha Dehaha Tasmai Namo Bhagavate Purushottamaya Tiryan Manushya Vibudhadishu Jiva Yonishu Atme Chayatma Kruta Setu Paripsayayaha. Nobody can see. Atmechayatmakruta setu paripsayayaha Reme nirasta vishayopi avaruddha deha Tasmai namo bhagavate purushottamaya Tiryan manushya vibhudadishu jivayonishu Atmechayatmakruta setu paripsayayaha Reme nirasta vishayopi avaruddha deha Tasmai namo bhagavate purushottamaya. Tiryak, animals lower than human beings, Manushya, human beings, etc. Vibhuda Adhishu, amongst the demigods, Jiva Yonishu, in different species of life, Atma, self, Ichaya, by the will, Atmakruta, self-created, Setu, obligations, Paripsaya, desiring to preserve, Yaha, who, Reme, performing transcendental pastimes, Nirastha, not being affected, Vishayaha, material contamination, Api, certainly, Avaruddha, manifested, Dehaha, transcendental body, Tasmai, unto him, Namaha, my obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead, Purushottamaya, the primeval Lord. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: O my Lord, by your own will, you appear in the various species of living entities, among animals lower than human beings, as well as among the demigods, to perform your transcendental pastimes. You are not affected by material contamination. You come just to fulfill the obligations of your own principles of religion, and therefore, O Supreme Personality, I offer my obeisances unto you for manifesting such different forms. Please repeat, O my Lord, by your own will, you appear in the various species of living entities, among animals lower than human beings, as well as among the demigods, to perform your transcendental pastimes. You are not affected by material contamination. You come just to fulfill the obligations of your own principles of religion. And therefore, O Supreme Personality, I offer my obeisances unto you for manifesting such different forms. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord's incarnations in different species of life are all transcendental. He appears as a human being in his incarnations of Krishna, Rama, etc., but he is not a human being. Anyone who mistakes him for an ordinary human being is certainly not very intelligent. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashata. The same principle is applicable when he appears as the hog or fish incarnations. The transcendental forms of the Lord and are manifested under certain necessities of his own pleasure and pastimes. Such manifestations of the transcendental forms of the Lord are accepted by him mostly to enliven his devotees. All his incarnations are manifested whenever there is a need to deliver his devotees and maintain his own principles. Namaste Bhaktivedanta. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So some people, they challenge and criticize that you all say that the Lord appears only in India or Bharatavarsha. Does he not appear anywhere else? Looks like all your literatures, India or Bharatavarsha is the focus. And then it appears that Lord always appears in Bharatavarsha. But here Lord Brahma, the first intelligent created being of this universe, is actually clarifying. He is smashing that argument that Lord can appear only in Bharatavarsha or in India. He is not limited to that. Here he mentions Tiryak Manushya Vibudhadishu Jivayonishu. Lord appears in Tiryak, even in animal forms. Animals lower than human beings. Then he appears in Manushya, human beings, and Vibudhadishu, amongst the demigods. And also in Jivayonishu, in all different species of life. Krishna is not limited by species, he is not limited by space, any of these considerations in this material world. He can appear in various forms, he can appear. Tiryak means animal. Lord appears as some of the animal forms. Like we see Matsya, apparently it's a fish, form of a fish. He appears as Varaha, apparently it is looking like a forest hog. So like that we see Krishna taking these various forms. There are some so-called gurus, in order to understand these incarnations, they give various theories. They analyze this Dashavatara. There is a fish, there is Varaha, there is Narasimha, there is Hamsa, there is like the various things they analyze, and they try to come up with some evolution theory. They say all these incarnations are showing how some evolution happens in the various species in this universe. But actually all these things are simply speculation. The actual fact is that Lord's appearance is simply by His own sweet will. He is all independent and He decides, that's all. If somebody wants to understand logically using his tiny intelligence, he will fail to really appreciate the cause of Lord's appearance. And who can understand Lord's mind in incarnating in a particular way? It is not easy to understand the cause behind the appearances of the Supreme Lord. Why is it not possible to understand? You can understand somebody else if your intelligence is more than that person's. Sometimes by looking at the actions of others, we'll be able to tell, okay, this is the reason, possibly this is the reason. So, that is on the basis of one's intelligence and observations, he can say, yes, this is what it is. But then who is behind the Supreme Lord? Who is above Him, who can analyze His actions? Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Mattaha parataram nanyat. There is no truth superior to me. Krishna already declares. So who can understand His pastimes? So people simply speculate, this is the cause, that is the cause. Of course, for our own understanding, sometimes in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has revealed the principles based on which He descends. Because He is addressing the mankind through Bhagavad Gita, He helps in understanding Himself. Krishna helps the living entity. Okay, you want to understand my incarnations? Okay, this is the reason. Radha Govinda ki jai. The famous slokas yadha yadha dharmasya glani bhavati paritranaya sadhunam. So unless Krishna explains, it is not possible to understand why he appears. The reasons are very difficult. So what exactly is the reason that why he takes the form of a hog, form of a fish? They consider to be lower species. Why is that the Lord takes such forms? So then Prabhupada gives one interesting example. He says, once one visitor, he wanted to meet the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, the Prime Minister of England. Those days the Prime Minister of UK, British Empire is a very big position, because British Empire was spread all over the world. And so the Prime Minister of Britain means he is actually holding a very big position. So this visitor, he wanted to meet this Prime Minister. Goes to his office. And then his assistants, the PA of the Prime Minister, says, no, sir is busy. The Prime Minister is busy, you wait here. So the visitor is waiting, for the Prime Minister to come out and say. The visitor is also not an ordinary person. Otherwise he will not be able to even allow him to wait also. And then 1 hour passed by, second hour, then this man is becoming, the visitor is becoming restless. And then nobody is nearby. He thought, okay, let me see what is he doing. And then through the door has a little opening is there. Maybe the door, the keyhole. So he started seeing through that hole, what is he doing? Actually, these things are not good. Generally, all these office spaces are monitored. The waiting rooms are monitored, what the visitors are doing. But anyway, he could not resist his inquisitiveness, curiosity, and then he starts looking into the hole. And then there he sees the all-glorious, all-powerful Prime Minister acting like an ass and carrying a small little grandchild on the backside. Backchild is saying, chal chal ghoda, chala ke ghoda. Of course, it's a Hindi word. And then the Prime Minister is enjoying carrying the small child on his back. And is acting like an animal. He's acting like a small ass or a donkey. How is it that the all-powerful Prime Minister is acting like a small animal in front of his small child? This is called pleasure. He is tired of sitting in his office and then as a Prime Minister. Nobody, okay, some enjoyment is there, but that's not the, he wants to enjoy with his family, with his grandchildren, and give them a good experience. This is exactly the reason. Reme nirasta vishaya. For enjoying your own transcendental pastimes. But within these pastimes, you appear to follow some principles. Krishna is also following some principles and then limiting himself and this way, that way. He says, Atmechaya Atmakruta Setu. Setu means the limitations. Who decides this limitation? Himself. He decides. Okay, I'll be like this. Atmakruta Setu Atmechaya. By his own desire. And he decides what principles to follow, and then he just follows. This is Krishna's position. Unless Krishna's position is appreciated, these pastimes will be highly confusing. How is it that Krishna is running away in a battle? If he is a Supreme Almighty, why is he running away in the battle? When Kalayavana attacks his kingdom, Krishna runs away from the battle. And then when Bali Maharaj occupies the heavenly planets, he goes as a humble Brahman and begging, give me money, give me some dana, give me charity. So like that, very, very difficult to understand Krishna's pastimes. Unless one appreciates that it is Atmechaya Atmakruta Setu, he decides how exactly he wants to behave, what rules to follow, what rules not to follow. He decides all this. For example, it is a principle that when a Brahmana comes to a Kshatriya cannot refuse charity. He should not refuse charity. So Bali Maharaj is following that, and Vamandev knows that Bali follows this rule. So he is also following that. He accepts a small Brahmana form and then goes in front of this. As soon as in the Yajna arena that Brahmana appears, he is looking like a sun, shining and diffusing a special light from his body. Everybody starts looking at the small boy, including Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj understands, so he is a Brahmana. Immediately he receives him. He receives him and asks, what do you want? You are looking so cute and you are a Brahmana. You tell me, what do you want? So as Brahmana, Krishna is acting like a Brahmana, a small boy, but he is all knowing. He is all powerful, he is all knowing. Maybe acting like that. He is actually not Brahmana. He may act like a fish, or he may act like a Manushya, Krishna, Rama, Parashurama, Vibudhadishu, like a Brahmana. In the demigod society, he is acting like a Brahmana. This Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these are all divisions across the universe, exist in the demigod society also. So, he is acting like a small Brahmana. And then he says, I'm a Brahmana, I just want 3 paces of the land that I can measure with my own foot. Bali Maharaj becomes very concerned. Says, oh Brahmana, you are actually not very experienced in this material life. I am the emperor of the entire universe and you are asking only 3 feet. What is this? You should ask more. You want 1 planet, I'll give you. He is preaching to Vamandev, but Vamandev has his own plan. He is waiting. But Shukracharya understood that this Brahmana boy who is having so much of effulgence and influence, he is not an ordinary personality. He understood. And then so he tried warning Bali Maharaj, don't agree to whatever he is asking. Anyway, Bali, he accepts and he agrees, yes, I am going to give you. There is a ritual, he has to pour some water and then agree. And once he agrees, then Vamana assumes his actual form. He expands his body and in 3 paces he occupies the entire universe. And he says, yes, Vamana, Bali, you wanted to give me 3 paces, now I have taken the 3 paces, which is nothing but the entire universe. So that means Bali has lost everything. Whatever he has occupied illegally, it is Krishna has taken it back. So then, if you go into moral principles and some calculation, why Vamana can do this, he says only 3 paces, he has tricked Bali, do this. Yes, Atmechaya, Atmakruta Setu. That's all. He decides how he wants to execute the pastimes. Many people ask a lot of questions from Mahabharata. Why did Krishna told Arjuna to shoot Karna? Why did he do this? Why did he do that? Why Ramachandra has killed Vali like this, Vali like that? So many questions. Not easy. So, this position of Krishna is explained by Yamunacharya, the spiritual master of Ramanujacharya. He explains Ullangita Trividha Sima Samatishayi Sambhavanam Tava Parivruddhama Swabhavam Maya Balena Bhavatapi Nuguhyamanam Pashyanti Kechidanisham Tvadananya Bhava. Here Yamunacharya is saying Lord's position is Ullangita Trividha Sima. There are three limitations for every one of us in this world. All living entities, Sima, their Simas, their boundaries are limited. What are they? Trividha, three kinds. One is the space limitations, then the time limitations, and the final limitation is the thought, our own thinking. Our thoughts limit us, the space limits us, and the time limits us. These are the three limits. Many people think that they are free to think whatever they can. A jiva experiences a lot of freedom in thinking, at least, because in the practical world there are a lot of rules and regulations. You can't do the way you want. If you come into an organization or you are on the road or this or that, particularly in our state, there is a big police command control. You can see just opposite this thing. They have a lot of surveillance cameras all across roads and across the city. Everybody is under watch. So that means there is not much freedom. You can't think the way you want and then act in the outside world. So most of the people, they experience freedom in thinking, but Yamunacharya is saying the jiva is limited by his own thinking. With his limited thinking, he wants to understand Krishna, who is Sima Atishaya. He transcends these three limitations. This is the position of the Supreme Lord. He has no limitations. He has no limitations. Apparently the limitations that we see in his pastime is all Atmechaya, his own desire. Yes, I want to limit myself. How is it that? Why sometimes Krishna follows like that? 100% you should simply act like God, no. Sometimes suddenly you will see he is acting like a man, he is like a human being and this and that. Why is that? So he is saying, Yamunacharya is saying, Maya balena niguhyamanam. Krishna tries to hide himself. By his Maya, by his Yoga Maya, he tries to hide himself. Sometimes you will not be able to recognize that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not possible. But then Pashyanti Kechidanisham Tvad Ananya Bhava. But his pure devotees can discover Krishna. They have no confusion. As soon as they see Krishna, they understand, yes, he is the Supreme Being. What these atheists and so-called these gurus, they do, these Krishna's limitations, they take it together and say, see, look, he is looking like a human being. But they don't understand Krishna's all-powerful exhibitions of his potencies. For example, Krishna has lifted a big mountain and that shakes them up. They say, no, this is not true. Anything which matches their theory, that is only a human being, is no better than any of us, maybe slightly better. They want to bring him down to the human being category, but Krishna is not a human being. He doesn't belong to the 84 lakh species of this universe. You cannot categorize him under any of these species. Then who is he? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He belongs to a different realm, a different planet. From there he descends into this. Simply because he came into this world, it doesn't mean that he is part of this species here. No, he is not part of the species here. He is a separate personality. Prabhupada says, let us say, Prime Minister of the country, he goes to prison house to hoist the independence flag, let us say. He doesn't belong to the prison population. There are so many species are there in the prison. From pickpocket to mega scamsters are there. Anyway, I don't want to comment. But then, so if the this Prime Minister, it doesn't belong to any of those. He doesn't come under the divisions of the prison. He just comes and he goes. But he may appear like one of them. Appearance is okay. He is also having 2 hands, 2 legs and this and that, but he is Prime Minister. His power is, he can release those prisoners if he decides. Under the mercy plea or some whatever, he can. See? So this is exactly the same situation. The Supreme Personality sometimes may visit our planet. But it doesn't mean that he comes under the categories of one another. He may visit as a fish, he may visit as a varaha, he may visit as this, but he doesn't belong to. So this is the understanding. Reme nirasta vishayo api avaruddha deha. He simply decides his own limitations, apparently by his own ichchaya, by his own desire. That's why Brahma knows all this. He is saying, Tasmai namo bhagavate purushottamaya. My obeisances unto you, O Supreme Lord, you are Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. In this world, all the Purushas are Adhama Purusha. We belong to Adhama Purusha category. That means this Purushatva is temporary here. There are some operations where a man can become woman, a woman can become man. So here the Purushatva is temporary. That's why they are called Adhama. There is a Madhyama Purusha who is there in the heart. He is known as the Super Soul. But Krishna is the Purushottamaya. 15th chapter says that he is the Purushottama. Uttama Purusha is. So he is not belonging to the category of this world. Even the demigods, they are also not Uttama Purushas, Devatas. No, they are also, Purushatva is temporary. They are also Adhama only. Just that they have more power than us. They are also Adhama category only. So, that's why one has to understand the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Krishna's position, and then surrender. Tasmai namo bhagavate purushottamaya. Stop here. Any questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణ వాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణ వాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133107700.